the couch out loud, roar and rave, human books with stories to share.
So chapter 2, background, a look at values, support, influence, expectations, and my interests or passions growing up, and sort of how they've influenced my practice today. So I'm very fortunate that I've had like a very supportive upbringing in terms of my arts practice, which I guess is a little bit strange as the child of migrant parents who are often, I guess, they worked so hard and they started a business to build them. They were just so supportive that they wanted, which I guess is the case for a lot of migrant kids. They just really wanted their kids to sort of like go out and do and have like the freedom to make the choices that I guess maybe they didn't get to make, which I think I'm very, very fortunate for, because I think a lot of the time my parents, for much of it, especially when I was at art college, still didn't really understand what it was that I was doing there, which is fair enough. I don't think I did either. It's a little bit better now, especially now that I'm into pottery, because that's something that I think everyone can sort of relate to a little bit, because it's such an ancient craft. But I guess that they didn't really influence. It was just more of a support system that I grew up with, which was really, really nice. I've always been a creative person, and I guess it took me 1 year of studying something a bit more boring and analytical at uni for me to decide that I actually should be at art college. So that decision sort of happened quite quickly for me, and that realisation came quite early. And from there it was just, I majored in sculpture. I went to the Queensland College of Art and majored in sculpture, which interestingly enough didn't have a ceramics program. I think ceramics was considered a bit more craft, and it wasn't really something that was kind of seen as a relevant part of the curriculum, which is a little bit unfortunate, but also I guess it's just how it was at the time. I think there was a kiln in the sculpture studios. They didn't really show us how to use it. It was mainly just students putting weird things in it to see at what temperature they melted, and it wasn't until much later that I went into ceramics and I realised that was a medium that I should be working in. Interestingly now, my current boss at the ceramic house, who's also obviously a ceramicist, went to art college as well, and she studied jewellery, and we were both there at the same time, and we both ended up falling into ceramics afterwards, which is quite nice. I think that's sort of digressed from the original question, but I just think it's funny. And I guess, I've always been, I think really what drew me to ceramics is, I guess, the tactile nature of the medium. I quite enjoy how transformative it is and how fluid it can be, but at the same time, at the end, you've got a very a solid finished product. It's why we have ceramic artifacts that are thousands of years old. So I guess that transformation is something that's always interests me, and I guess the freedom, and it's just so much to learn. So I don't think I'll ever get bored studying ceramics, and I'll be here for a very long time. And chapter 2. Alrighty, chapter 3, struggles and barriers. And I think I'm extremely fortunate that I don't feel like I've had any particular barriers that have stopped me from pursuing the things that I wanted to pursue in terms of a career in the arts. Like I spoke about earlier, I had really supportive family and friends around me that sort of, were happy for me to pursue this. This is not probably the most lucrative or wealthy pursuit in terms of jobs. I guess the only thing that I could really reflect on in terms of struggles and barriers is, I guess, growing up on the Gold Coast, and it's not really a barrier, but I guess when you go into arts in your late teens and you're interested in that, it's kind of assumed that you're going to move away, and there's like everyone me included. I was 17 moving to Brisbane thinking that there was no arts here, and assuming that I'm going to move to Melbourne, I'm going to have to move to Sydney. But I actually became quite fond of the Gold Coast, and I quite like the culture that we have here, and I just think it's such an exciting time to be an artist on the Gold Coast, because there are so many more opportunities now than there were even 5 years ago. So I wouldn't say it was a barrier, but it was just a choice that I kind of made to move away and sort of pursue opportunities elsewhere, or to be part of the artists that create opportunities here. And obviously I've had more opportunities here in the past year than I think I would have had anywhere else, and I get to be near my family as well, which is really, really nice. So I guess, it's not really a barrier, but I think it just goes to show that, artists are resourceful people. I'm not just talking about myself, I'm just talking about artists on the Gold Coast in general, and you don't necessarily need to move to create an art scene. Sometimes you just need to mobilise to create that scene here, which is nice. And especially, I always thought sort of had a bit of a moment somewhere probably through postgrad where I was like, actually there are more opportunities where there are less art, because people will let you do things with more responsibility because there's not really a ladder to climb. There's just, they need someone to do something and there's no one there doing it yet. So all of a sudden you have more responsibility, I guess, which I thought was a really nice thing, to be able to have opportunities. I interned at Swell when I was in my postgrad, and I was able to do so much in that organisation. I felt so, because, you know, they were just so grateful to have people wanting to be involved, which is so nice. So yeah, I guess it's not really a struggle or a barrier, but if I'm reflecting on, you know, and I guess any artist would have this in terms of what makes it tricky, is just, yeah, reflecting on the culture that's around you. And I think some people would think the Gold Coast could potentially be a bit of a hindrance, but I guess it depends how you look at it. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, which is really nice. So yeah, end of chapter 3, that's all.
The couch out loud, roar and rave. Human books with stories to share. Their ups and their downs, and everything in between. Pets optional is where it can be seen. I said pets optional.